with the Mazda 2Bs ready to head out onto the circuit for the second race. You can see that the weather here at Cadwell Park is much better today than yesterday. Richard's on pole position. It's over to Andy to take you through all of the action.
Race 2B for the Mazda MX-5 Championship about to get underway here at Cadwell Park. We've got the 5 drivers at the front of the grid who were relegated after race 1A. They are Richard Baxter on pole position, Nick Ledoyen alongside, Ivan Leary, and then non-finishers Jason Greatrex and Lewis Cannon 4th and 5th. Clive Chisnall just missed out on a promotion spot in the previous race with Charlie Rawls, Thomas Jenkins, Michael Nibbs and Christina Holly rounding out the top 10. Then it's Bruce Robinson and Oliver Jenkins with Graham Rumsey and Adrian Johnson next. Stuart Ross French and Christian Dan are ahead of Jake Stiles and Christopher Ginn, with Thomas Mallet and Aaron Danapola rounding out the top 20. We had just the one retirement from our first B race, that is Adam Tyler, who lines up at the back of the grid alongside Adam Tyrrell at the tail end of the field. 20 minutes of racing then. The grey number 61 car is Richard Baxter on pole position. The best start, though, appears to have been made from the outside of row number 2 there by Jason Greatrex, as you might expect. And here on the inside comes Lewis Cannon, the number 8 car, both of them non-finished in the first A race. Indeed, Lewis Cannon was out at the first corner. You'd think he might have a slightly more circumspect view of the start of this race, but no, he's straight in on the grass. Looks to have survived the first turn, though, as indeed does everybody else. Through Charlie's now for the first time of asking, and out along the park straight. And who is going to come out on top at the end of it? Well, they're all still jockeying for position. That's Michael Nibbs on the inside of the red number 56 car of Thomas Jenkins, who got a good start in race 1. This time, he sort of held his ground, so no real gains made. And the head of the field, though, is that Greatrex leading? Yes, it is. Jason Greatrex ahead of Richard Baxter at the front of the field, with Ivan Leary in third, that looks like, in the number 25 machine. Rest of them picking their way through. 53 there is Jonathan Fieldsend, the pale blue car with the yellow roll cage. He's second to last at the moment as they round the first couple of corners. Looks like that's Adam Tyrrell behind him. This is the fight for third, though. Third place is Ivan Leary. Fourth is Lewis Cannon. Then for 5th position, it is very close indeed. Looks like that is... now, who is that that's in 5th position? Didn't quite catch the number there. Charlie Rawls is in that group as well. He's 6th, I can tell you that much. He's the grey car with the yellow stripe. 7th for Clive Chisnall. So Chisnall's lost a position. And 8th place for Jenkins. He's where he started. As they work their way up the hill, it'll be Nick Ledoyen, won't it? Nick Ledoyen is the man who's in 5th position, number 60, having started 2nd. So he, one of the big losers on the opening lap. One of the big winners, though, Jason Greatrex. No doubt about it. Jason, who you would not expect usually to be in the B races. He's one of those drivers who's only here because of a non-finish in the first A encounter. And whenever that's the case, it's usually those kind of drivers that you expect to run away with these B races. The real battling is going to be behind him to see who else gets into these promotional spots. There's a tail battle here then for that 5th position as they run up towards turn number 1 for the second time. It is Nick Ledoyen who's in that 5th place. 6th place for the fast starting Charlie Rawls. Behind them, this man, Clive Chisnall. You can see just how physical this circuit is, just how quick it is as well. For such a narrow circuit, you don't half carry some speed through these corners. This three-way fight for 5th place is moving at a very rapid pace, but we might be about to see a change of position here, I reckon, because of the inside line on the exit of Charlie's corner, appropriately enough, goes Charlie Rawls, who gets a good exit, goes up the inside of Nick Ledoyen and opens the door for Clive Chisnall to try and follow him through as well. Fairness to Ledoyen, he's standing his ground on the outside line, but Chisnall will have the inside line again for Charlie's, urging the car on as he gets to the inside for the first of the 2 apexes here. That's the first one. And then the second one coming up, and he's still carrying a very tight line, so it looks as though maybe Nick Ledoyen is still around here somewhere. Can we turn into the left-hander? Yes, we can. So we've made the move stick, and Chisnall goes through. So Nick Ledoyen, having started front row, unfortunately slipping backwards. It's strange, actually, because Christina Holly started 2nd in the first race, and she, too, did nothing but drop places as the race went on. In fact, Christina, having started 10th in this one, appears to have dropped even further back as well. So that's a shame for Christina, who we were hoping to see debating these transfer spots, if at all possible. Promised much after qualifying, but just the starts haven't quite gone her way. We'll see if she can improve as the rest of the race and indeed the rest of the season goes on. Meanwhile, the leaders, though, coming through onto their 3rd lap of the race. There's Ivan Leary, so he's slipped backwards as well somewhere. Clive Chisnall there with Nick Ledoyen. 56 that is. That's Thomas Jenkins behind. So, not sure where Nick Ledoyen's ended up then. Anyway, leading 3 are pretty much as one here. Jason Greatrex not really escaping massively from Richard Baxter in 2nd position. Still very very, very wide there. They're out over the curbs. That loses him traction off the corner. And this is Lewis Cannon's opportunity to move into second position, which he does with relative ease after that mistake there for the second place man. So Lewis Cannon up one more spot. Richard Baxter down to third. Now can Cannon go after Greatrex, I wonder? That's the next question, I guess. In qualifying for the first of our A races, Greatrex qualified 14th place, whilst Lewis Cannon was 7th. So Cannon was actually quicker than him in qualifying. As I said, neither of them finished that A race, but that shows their relative pace. We didn't get to see much of their relative pace in the race though, because Cannon was out by lap 1, and I think Greatrex only managed about 4 or 5 laps. So it's been a troublesome weekend for these two so far. These B races though are a good opportunity to get back to winning ways and transfer yourself back onto that A grid later on. So this is going to be an interesting fight for the race victory, I think, between these two. Cannon certainly looks as though he's got the pace here. Look at him, he's closing in and really pushing the car to the limit there through the Hall bends. These Mark 1 MX-5s are quite progressive in the way that they drive. You can get them a bit sideways and hang on to them as long as you don't overdo it, of course, as is true with any racing car, because they run on these groove tyres, fairly soft suspension, no aerodynamics, of course, either, no drive rates either, I suppose, so that's what makes them quite fun to drive. Can be fairly robust with them, and they will take it up to a point. Lewis Cannon, though, is looking like the fastest man on the racetrack right now. He's closed right in on Jason Greatrex. He has set the fastest lap as well to illustrate that point. Now he's sat right in the slipstream up the Park straight. There's a gap up the inside line, is there? Greatrex is trying to cover it, though. Has he got there in time? I think he just about did, but that was a last-minute defensive move as he sort of realised that Cannon had a better exit maybe than he first thought he had, and thought maybe it was better to come over and defend after all. Thankfully, Cannon was not already up the inside. If he had been, they would have made contact, and it would have been Greatrex, no doubt, got fired off the road. Through the gooseneck, down the hill, into the braking zone of Mansfield. Number 33, Jason Greatrex, winner at Donington Park last time out in the A race at Donington. This season, he's generally speaking been pretty quick, and of course he was one of the real 4 men at Pembrey last time out, where he was able to get himself a couple of really good results, Jason Greatrex. A 3rd in race 1 and a pair of 4th places after that, using local knowledge to good effect. But well, in Cadwell Park here, we couldn't really be much further away from South Wales, Jason's homeland, and he is really having to work hard now, even for a B race victory. It's definitely changed since the previous round a few weeks ago. The weather hasn't much though. It's still very bright and sunny, not quite as warm as it was over Easter weekend down in South Wales, but it's still nice and sunny, perfect conditions for racing here. This could be a perfect opportunity for Lewis Cannon to attack for the race lead. Look, he's always pushing Greatrex down the pit straight now. Turn 1 though is almost flat out in these cars, so there's no real opportunity to overtake there. The best way to do it is try and get the better exit from here at Charlie's, through the middle part of Charlie's. Cannon drops back, so Greatrex hanging on then for now. Doing well here, and if you can sort of back up the car behind you, get them stuck running at your speed, then oftentimes that sort of takes some of the momentum out of the challenge. It's better as the attacking driver on certain occasions anyway, to drop back and try and close in with some momentum, carry that momentum and use it as a potential catalyst for an overtake, but that's not proving easy here for Lewis. Maybe that's what he was trying there, because he did suddenly seem to drop back through the first couple of corners. He got so close to Greatrex through the first turn. He's struggling right now to prise the door open. You do sense that maybe this is going to require a mistake from the Welshman in front. The left part of the mountain through the right, don't use too much of that curb, and here's the chance. Cannon's had a better exit. He's up the inside towards the Hall bend. This is dicey though, running wheel to wheel through here, and Greatrex is going to try and close the door. They almost lean on each other. Greatrex on the grass, and Cannon goes through. Nicely done there. He got a much better exit from the mountain, and he forced the initiative up the inside going into the Hall bends. I thought for a horrifying moment they were going to make contact then, and they could have both been off, but Greatrex just took to the grass to avoid that and has had to concede the lead. So nicely done there for Lewis Cannon, and will now discover whether or not he can deliver on the pace that he's been promising and maybe pull away. With Clive Chisnell here then, as he attacks Ivan Leary through the final couple of corners. Down the hill towards the start of another lap, Clive Chisnell applying the pressure, as he has been for most of the race, but hasn't yet been able to prise the door open and get past Ivan. Again, with the cars being so evenly matched, as is always the case in this championship, they're policed well, the regulations are enforced so that there's no advantage between any of the cars. There is developed to exactly the same set of regulations. And that's what makes the racing so close, because the cars are all capable of running at more or less the same speed, unless, of course, you miss the apex of run wide. That will slow you down, and that's what happened to Ivan Leary. So Clive Chisnall does finally now prise the door open and go through. More battling going on here, though. I think this is Christina Holly is in at play. There's a car off there on the inside of the road. Whether it's spun or pulled off, I'm not too sure. We have lost quite a few cars, though, in the early stages of this race. I can tell you Michael Nibbs has gone missing, so too Nick Ledoyen, unfortunately. So that explains why he disappeared at the early stages. Adrian Johnson's out as well. And most recently, Adam Tyler. So one of those cars appears to have disappeared on the inside at Chris Curve. Number 27 there is Christian Dan, the blue car. Christina Holly applying the pressure as they come up and over the mountain. They want to go for it, racing cars behind by the looks of it. Through the bends and towards the completion of another lap, but already onto another lap, is Jason Greatrex, who is now starting to make good his escape. He's already several seconds up the road now from the cars behind. Although having said that, actually, Richard Baxter is sort of staying with him in third, isn't he? Really, it's Lewis Cannon that's setting sail, pulling right away now from Greatrex in second. Jason will have to keep the pace up here because Baxter's got some decent pace. Baxter qualified on the back row of the original A grid. Wasn't able to stay up in the A grid though after the opening race. Didn't have any issues as such. He's just one of those drivers that's right on the cusp of transitioning into being a full-on sort of regular competitor in the A grids. And on occasion in qualifying, he'll get through onto the back of that grid. On other occasions, he'll find himself back on the front of the B grids. In a way, I suppose drivers like that might prefer to be a couple of places back in qualifying so that they're guaranteed a front starting position for the B races rather than sort of running around at the back of the A races. But the only way you'll ever progress is to spend more and more time racing on the A grids amongst the more experienced competitors. That's one of the benefits of these B races, particularly races 2 and 3. If there are any non-finishers from the first A races, then it gives some of these B drivers a chance to go up against the very best and see how they compare with them. Clive Chisnall now, he's got this wonderfully clear view out in front of him now that he's gained that position against Ivan Leary. We have to assume Ivan is still around here somewhere, possibly not too far behind us as we head down the hill. And yep, there's Ivan, the red and black car with the yellow nose. He is indeed right with him. And also with them, I think, is Oliver Jenkins, isn't it? 57. White car with the red stripe down the middle. So this three-way battle, again, outside the top 5, though, at the moment, I think I'm right in saying. So yet again, Clive Chisnall and Ivan Leary look like they might miss out on the opportunity to progress into the A races. Jenkins having a little look at the inside of Ivan Leary. Of course, they need to try and be careful here, though, because if anyone were to fall off the road in front of them, they could yet be promoted into the top 5, at least one of them. Chisnall now pulling away, actually, from Ivan Leary slightly. Gooseneck down the hill again. Onto the brakes. Clive Chisnall's car certainly stands out, doesn't it? That's a distinctive livery. This car's very well prepared, though, and relatively affordable as well. There's no such thing really as cheap motor racing, but this is relatively affordable racing. You can get a donor car for not a huge amount of money, and really you don't have to do that much to them to make them competitive. It's one of the joys of Mark 1 Mazda MX-5 racing. It is basically a production spec racing car. Obviously, between the suspension and grooved racing tyres, but beyond that, mechanically speaking, they are fairly close to their road-going counterparts. You can still get plenty of donor cars, there are plenty of them around as well, so if you do want to get into motor racing, you can do a lot worse than the Mazda MX-5 Championship, the Mark 1 Championship, and then use this maybe as a stepping stone into the even more competitive world of Mark 3 Mazda MX-5 racing, which continues to produce extraordinarily competitive racing and championships at a very high level in the UK. Under the guidance of the BRSCC, of course. So back with this Oliver Jenkins battle, with Ivan Leary as they continue to dice with each other. They're losing ground to Clive Chisnall in front of them. Jenkins to the outside of Leary into Park Corner. Leary's got the inside line, but can Jenkins maybe get the wide line in and the tight line out? He's trying, but no, there's just no way through. So Leary able to hang on here. He's doing a nice job, but Chisnell there is the man who's really benefiting from all of this, pulling away from them corner by corner. You do sense though that if Jenkins were able to get through, he might just be able to close on Chisnell in front. It's easier said than done. Out of Mansfield they go, back along this flat out section towards the mountain, which is a possible overtaking opportunity, at least on the way in. Or indeed, as we actually saw earlier on for the race lead, on the way out as well. If you get a better exit from this part of the corner, you can carry the speed all the way uphill, but you've got to be fully alongside really into the Hall Bends to make it stick. That's why that was so close between Lewis Cannon and Jason Greytracks a few laps ago as they debated the race lead at the Hall Bends. Not an easy part of the circuit to go side by side through. I've seen it go wrong more times than I've seen it go right. Thankfully, on that occasion it went very well for Lewis Cannon, and he was able to go through with little to no contact. Back across the start-finish line, onto another lap we go, and Ivan Leary in the second half of this lap has maybe started to close in slightly on Clive Chisnell. Is he going to be able to attack before the end of this lap, I wonder? If he can get close enough coming through the next couple of corners, he'll pick up a whiff of a slipstream down the park straight, but he's got to watch out because Oliver Jenkins is there right behind him again. He's in the tow, and the white car no doubt will try and pull alongside. If there's a gap up the inside, he'll go to driver's right, but the left-hand side is most likely the route that will present itself to him, which indeed it does. We've been here before. The outside line doesn't often work through park unless you can force the car defending to outbrake themselves, which did not happen. And Ivan Leary, once again, fends him off. Chris Curve, then the gooseneck. We've had 7 different winners, incidentally, in these 7 B races at the start of the season, and with Lewis Cannon out in front, we look set to have an 8th as well. It's partly because we get different drivers often racing at the front of this grid because of this promotion and relegation format, but nonetheless it shows that if you can get yourself to track position, then almost anybody can win one of these races. Over the hill they go, Leary trying to not fight for a victory here, but trying to get a little bit closer to that top 5, but they are actually, in real terms, falling away from the top 5 runners right now. Down the hill, into the braking zone. Chisnell just keeps it inside the white lines there. Drive run by BC Motorsport, that's Brian Chandler's team. Brian Chandler, a very, very successful MX-5 racer himself, of course. He's out in the MX-5 Super Series this weekend, in fact, for the second time this year. Now, Chisnell's had a bit of a moment there, hasn't he? He's lost some ground to Ivan Leary, and Leary is trying to go to the outside now into turn number 1. Now, you can go round the outside here and get the inside for Charlie's, but I don't think he's been able to do it. We're on board with Clive Chisnell, and yes, we've turned into Charlie's, so there's no one on the inside. There certainly isn't now, anyway. That car looks like a bit of a handful. It's understeering a bit, isn't it? He's sort of soaring away at the wheel, trying to get the car to turn. And that will be like blood in the water for Ivan Leary and Oliver Jenkins behind, who will both be sensing that the car in front of them may be struggling with handling difficulties. However, Chisnell again, as they go, Leary, as they go back straight, seems to fall back into the clutches, doesn't he, of Oliver Jenkins behind. By defending at Park Corner, you end up just losing so much ground through the next little sequence. There's a back marker in front there, I think, now for Clive Chisnell to negotiate, which is braking quite early through the gooseneck. This is an unwanted distraction now for Clive. He'll try and get on the inside down into Mansfield, will he? Is he close enough? Sort of. Yep, the door is left open. Through he goes. So that wasn't for position. That was a slower car getting out of the way, and it gets well out of the way of all 3 of them as well. But Leary is the one that's benefited there. He got the cleaner line through Mansfield. It's closed back in now on Clive Chisnell, but once again for Ivan Leary, this is the worst part of the circuit really to close in because you can't overtake it. Oh, the Chisnell sideways though, that made it easy. Clive Chisnell with a big old moment, and through they will both go, so I don't think there was contact there. It did look as though Clive was a bit sideways as he went into the second part of the mountain, and yet again we keep saying that you can't really overtake at that part of the circuit unless you see the car in front make a mistake. There's a mistake now for Ivan Leary. He runs wide there at Barn Corner, and there was almost a chance for Jenkins to get back up the inside, so 1 or 2 mistakes creeping in now as we get into the latter part of the race. Jenkins is going to be alongside, I think, as they come across the start-finish line. No, not quite. Ducks back into the tow. Onto the final lap of the race as well. Up towards the first corner, and, well, if these 2 keep on at it like this, then Chisnell might be able to join back in the fun as well. Here's the leader, by the way, Lewis Cannon. Remember him? He's pulled out about a 6-second lead over Jason Greytracks in second place, and looks like he's going to take the victory in our second B race of the weekend here at Cadwell Park. After the initial overtaking that he had to do, and that great battle that he had with Jason Greytracks, much of the action has been happening outside of the top 5, actually. Looks as though Cannon Greatrex and Richard Baxter are going to be our podium finishers. Over around him. Back with this battle. Now Chisnell is back with these two. Look, Ivan Leary and Oliver Jenkins, excuse me. Coming down towards the gooseneck. So can Chisnell now regain any of these lost positions, I wonder? Through the left, downhill. Leary seems to be out of striking range for the time being, but we've seen these positions change hands at the most unexpected of times, and it might happen again because Leary's off the road. Oh, there's contact, big contact, and off. They're all going to go off. They're all off. What a shame that it had to end that way, and unfortunately Clive Chisnell had nowhere to go. Here's the replay. Leary gets into a huge tank slapper, and look at the air time that Oliver Jenkins gets. And unfortunately for Clive Chisnell, he thinks that the gap is going to be on the left-hand side of the road, and that is exactly the part of the circuit that Leary starts to slide into, right across his bows, and all three of them out on the final lap after a great battle that it had been as well. Well, that is real drama, but the race victory has gone the way of Lewis Cannon, Jason Greatrex second and Richard Baxter third, with Charlie Rawls and Thomas Jenkins into the top five, and that drama will elevate a few others a bit further up the order than they expected to be as well. Cannon, though, avoids all of the drama. He takes the victory by just over 6 seconds in the end from Greatrex and Baxter, Rawls and Jenkins. Then Christina Holly is 6th, Christian Dan 7th, Stuart Ross French is 8th, with Jake Starrs 9th and Graham Rumsey rounding out the top 10. We lost quite a few though. Ivan Leary, Oliver Jenkins and Clive Chisnell in spectacular fashion are out on the final lap, with Adam Tyler, Adrian Johnson, Nick Ledoyen and Michael Nibbs joining them as non-finishers from our second B race of the weekend.
Lewis, you started 5th but you came pole. Tell us how you did it.
Not really too sure with that one. It just bit by bit, slowly. Took my time, so we didn't have a repeater yesterday. So
Must have been better now that the sun's out though.
yeah, we're lucky we're out, to be honest. Last night we didn't think we'd be racing today, so credit to the boys. The car's back working as it should be. So, yeah.
So going up into the A race, any plans?
Don't crash it.
Always a good one. Right, we'll wish you the best of luck and congratulations.
Cheers, Lindsay.
Jason, you're in the Bs. We normally see you in the A, but you will be going back up this afternoon.
Yeah, we can't wait to get back in the A's, score some proper points there. But yeah, we got put in the Bs because we had a stone go through the radiator yesterday. So back in the A's now, see what we can do from there.
So any plans starting 4th from the back? Are you going to just try and race up the inside?
Just going to go, well, there's not much room around here, so I might have to go on the grass a little bit, but we'll see how it goes, and we'll see how far we can get up in the third race this afternoon.
Richard, you started pole, but you still managed to claw your way back up to 3rd. Bit different from the Radicals.
Oh, I mean, you've just got to manage the car all the way through the race. You know, I'm still learning. I mean, I've got gears now instead of paddle shift, so there's actually a lot more going on in the cockpit. This is a more technical challenge, and it's just so competitive keeping up with those guys. They were fast, so I'm happy with where we are.
So obviously you're going up into the A race this afternoon. You excited for it?
Very. That's why I'm here. I'm just desperate to get into the A race, break through the mid-pack and get into the top 10. That's the goal for this season, so we'll see how we go.
Well, fingers crossed for you and congratulations again.
Right, cheers. Thank you.